Slow American English. I started speaking English after one small promise. Not after a big course. Not after a perfect teacher. Not after moving to another country. Just one small promise. A quiet promise. A promise I made to myself late at night. Have you ever made a promise like that? A promise so small that no one would notice, but inside you it feels like a new beginning. This is my story, and maybe it can help you too. Let me take you back. I was in my early 20s. I had a simple office job. The job was not bad, but every day I carried the same fear. Because English was everywhere. Emails were in English. Reports were in English. Meeting slides were in English. Client calls were in English. And every time I heard English, my body reacted like danger was coming. My shoulders became tight. My throat became dry. My heart started beating fast. The painful part was this. I understood a lot. I could read most emails. I could understand most meetings. I could write basic sentences. But when it was time to speak, my mind went blank. It was like my brain turned off. It was like the words disappeared. Speaking felt scary. Speaking felt risky. Speaking felt like everyone would judge me. So I avoided it. When people spoke English near me, I smiled and stayed quiet. When someone asked me a question, I answered in my own language. When a client call started, I prayed they would not call my name. Every day I told myself the same thing. One day I will learn English. One day I will speak with confidence. One day I will stop feeling afraid. But that one day never came. Because I was always waiting. Waiting for the perfect time. Waiting for the right teacher. Waiting for motivation. And while I waited, life kept moving forward. In my office, I saw other people growing. Some of them were not smarter than me. Some of them were not more talented than me. But they did one thing. They spoke. Even if their English was not perfect, even if their grammar was not clean, they spoke anyway. And because they spoke, people noticed them. People trusted them. People gave them opportunities. And I stayed invisible. Then one afternoon, my fear became real. My manager called me and said, "Daniel, join this client call. Just listen. If they ask you something, answer simply." I nodded. I acted calm. But inside, I was shaking. The call started. The client spoke fast English. My manager answered smoothly. I listened carefully. At first, I was okay. Then the client asked a question, a simple question. "Daniel, can you tell us the current status of the report?" My manager looked at me. The client waited. The silence became heavy. I knew the answer. I worked on that report all week, but my mouth did not move. My mind went empty. My throat closed. Fear froze my voice. After a few seconds, my manager answered for me. The call continued, but inside me, something broke, because I saw the truth. I was not failing because I did not know. I was failing because I could not speak. After the call ended, my manager did not shout. He did not insult me. He just said one sentence, a sentence that stayed in my heart. "Daniel, you are smart, but you must speak. If you cannot speak, people will never know what you can do." Then he walked away. I sat at my desk. I stared at my computer screen, but I could not focus. That sentence kept repeating in my mind. You are smart, but you must speak. That evening, I went home quietly. I ate dinner, but I did not talk much. Later that night, I went to my room. I closed the door, and I sat on my bed. I asked myself a serious question. How long will I live like this? How long will I stay silent? How long will I hide? Then I opened an old notebook. Not a fancy notebook, just a simple one. I wrote, I will speak English every day. Then I stopped. That promise felt too big, too heavy, too scary. So I crossed it out. Then I wrote a smaller promise, a promise I could really keep. I will speak one English sentence every day. Only one. I stared at that line. One sentence. It sounded small, but it also sounded possible. And that night, for the first time in a long time, I felt a quiet peace. Because I was not waiting anymore. I was starting. Segment 2. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. Not because I felt excited, but because my mind could not rest. That small promise was sitting in my head, like a quiet question. One English sentence every day. Only one. I got out of bed. I washed my face. I brushed my teeth. Then I stood in front of the mirror. And suddenly, I felt nervous again. My mind said, what sentence will you speak? What if you forget? What if you sound stupid? For a moment, I almost stopped. But then I remembered something simple. A sentence does not need to be perfect. A sentence only needs to be spoken. So I took a slow breath and I said softly, today I will do my best. That was it. A small sentence, simple words, nothing special. But the moment I said it, something changed inside me. It was not a big change, it was a small change, like a door opening just a little, like a light turning on in a dark room. I said the sentence again, a little louder. Today I will do my best. Then I looked at myself and I gave a small smile. Not because I was confident, but because I actually did it. I spoke English. For years, English felt like something outside of me, something for other people, something for smart people, something for confident people. But now, English was coming from my own mouth, and that felt powerful. When I left my room, I felt like I was carrying a secret mission. At breakfast, my mother asked me, "Why are you awake so early?" I wanted to tell her the truth, but I did not. I just said, I could not sleep. Then I went to the office. All day, my mind kept returning to that promise. Not to speak like a fluent person, not to speak like a native speaker, just one sentence. That idea made everything easier. But after 3 days, a problem appeared. I ran out of sentences. At night, I sat on my bed. My notebook was open, and my mind was empty. I could not think of a sentence. I felt frustrated. And my old voice came back. See, you cannot even keep a small promise. This is why you will never learn English. That voice was cruel, but it was familiar. Still, I did not want to listen to it. So I did something simple. I searched for easy English sentences. Not grammar lessons, not long videos, just simple sentences. I found many. I am happy today. I feel tired. I need to focus. I will try again. I am improving every day. I wrote a few in my notebook. Then I chose one, and I spoke it out loud. I will try again. That sentence was not only English. That sentence was my life. After 1 week, something else happened. I started talking to myself in English, not out loud, but inside my mind. When I walked to the office, I would think, the weather is nice today. I will work hard today. I feel nervous, but I will try. It was slow, it was simple, but it was English. And for the first time, English started to feel normal. Then one afternoon, something important happened. During lunch, a colleague named Arif sat beside me. Arif was friendly. He loved to joke, and he often tried to speak English. Not perfect English, but brave English. He looked at me and said, "Daniel, why are you always so quiet? You understand everything, but you never speak. You should practice more." I smiled, but I said nothing. Then Arif said something that surprised me. "Let us make a deal. Every day at lunch, we will speak one English sentence to each other. Only one." My heart beat faster, because now my promise would not stay private. Now it would be real. I wanted to say no. I wanted to escape. But I remembered my notebook. I remembered my promise. One sentence every day. So I looked at Arif and I said, "Okay, we can try." Arif smiled like he just won a prize. He said, "Great, tomorrow we start." That night, I could not sleep easily, because tomorrow I would not speak to a mirror. Tomorrow, I would speak to a real person. And that felt scary, but it also felt like growth. Teaching moment. Deal means an agreement between two people, and courage means to help someone feel brave. Private means personal, not shared. Public means in front of other people. Frustrated means feeling upset because something is difficult. Segment 3. The next day at lunch, my hands felt a little shaky. It was funny. I could do hard work in my office. I could solve problems. I could write reports. But one simple English sentence at a lunch table was making me nervous. Because this time, it was not just me and my mirror. It was me and another person. I walked into the cafeteria. I held my lunch tray, and I looked for Arif. He was sitting at the same table, smiling like this was a game. When I sat down, Arif looked at me and said, "Good afternoon, Daniel." For 1 second, my mind went empty. Even though I prepared, even though I knew what to say. Fear can do that. Fear can erase simple words. But then I remembered my rule. Do not stay silent. Speak something. So I forced my lips to move. "Good afternoon, Arif. How are you?" My voice sounded low, like a student answering in class, but the words came out. And Arif smiled. He said, "I am fine. Today I feel very hungry." Then he laughed, and I laughed too. It felt light. It felt friendly. It did not feel like an exam. Arif looked at me and said, "See, that was easy." But inside I knew it was not easy. It was brave. After lunch, I went back to my desk, and I felt something new. Not fluency, not confidence. Something smaller. Progress. That night, I opened my notebook, and I wrote, "Day 9. I spoke English to Arif today." I stared at that line. It felt like proof that I was changing. The next day, we did it again. One sentence each. I said, "Today is a busy day." Arif said, "I will finish my work early." Some days we laughed at our mistakes. Some days we repeated the same words. Some days we forgot what to say. But we did not stop. 2 weeks passed, and something interesting happened. Other people noticed. One colleague said, "Why are you speaking English like this?" Arif said proudly, "We are practicing." Some people smiled, some people joked gently, but no one was cruel. No one insulted us. No one tried to stop us. and I realized something. The fear inside my head was bigger than the reality. Then I decided to add one more habit. I said to myself, every day I will learn one new English word. Not 10 words, not 50 words, just one. So my routine became simple. One sentence, one word. In the morning, I spoke my sentence. At lunch, I spoke to Arif. At night, I wrote one word. Confidence. Confidence means you believe you can do something. Courage. Courage means strength when you feel fear. Practice. Practice means you do something again and again. Each new word felt like a small tool, a small piece of power. Then, one afternoon, an email came from my manager. It said, "We will have a client meeting tomorrow. Daniel, please present the first 2 slides." When I read that, my stomach dropped. Present? In English? In front of people? The old fear came back like a storm. My mind said, "You will fail again. You will embarrass yourself. Everyone will see." I wanted to go to my manager and say no, but I did not, because something inside me was different now. I still felt afraid, but I also felt a small belief. I had been speaking every day. I had been practicing with Arif. I had been learning words. So I told myself, maybe I cannot speak perfectly, but I can speak something. That night, I stayed up late. I opened the slides. I read the sentences slowly. I practiced again and again. I did not try to speak fast. I did not try to sound like a native speaker. I only tried to speak clearly. I wrote the key lines on paper. This slide shows the current progress. We completed 60% of the work. The next step is testing. We will deliver the final report next week. I practiced in front of the mirror, over and over. Sometimes I forgot a sentence. Sometimes I mispronounced words. Sometimes I wanted to quit. But I did not quit, because my promise was pushing me. One sentence every day. Now it was leading me into something bigger. The next morning, I walked into the meeting room. My laptop was open. The client joined on video. My manager sat beside me. Then my manager looked at me and nodded. It was my turn. Segment 4. Narrator, Daniel. The meeting room felt cold. Not because of the air conditioner, but because of my fear. I sat in my chair. My laptop was open. The slides were ready. On the screen, the client joined the call. My manager started speaking first. His English sounded smooth, easy, natural. The client replied quickly. Their words flowed fast, like water. I tried to follow the conversation, but my mind kept returning to one thought. Soon I have to speak. Then my manager said, "Now Daniel will present the next 2 slides." The client smiled and said, "Okay, Daniel, please go ahead." My hands moved the mouse. I clicked the slide. My mouth became dry. My heart started beating fast. I took a slow breath. And I started. This slide shows the current progress. My voice was low, but it was steady. I kept going. We completed 60% of the work. I looked at the numbers on the screen. I spoke slowly, word by word. The next step is testing. So far, I was okay. Then the client asked a question. "Daniel, can you explain what kind of testing you will do?" In that moment, everything inside me froze. Because that question was not in my script, it was not in my notebook, it was real. My mind searched for words, but the words did not come quickly. The old fear rose inside me like a wave. For 1 second, I wanted my manager to answer, but then I remembered my promise. One sentence every day. Do not stay silent. Speak something. So I answered with simple words. We will do basic testing first, then we will do final testing. It was not a perfect answer. It was not detailed, but it was clear enough. The client nodded. He said, "Okay, that sounds good." My chest relaxed a little. My hands stopped shaking a little. Then I continued. We will deliver the final report next week. I finished the second slide, and I stopped speaking. There was a short pause. Then my manager said, "Great, thank you, Daniel." The client smiled and said, "Thank you, Daniel." And the meeting moved on. I stayed quiet for the rest of the call, but inside, I was feeling something new. Relief. I spoke, I answered a question, and I survived. When the call ended, my manager looked at me. He did not say much. He just said, "Good job, Daniel. You were nervous, but you did it." Those words felt warm. Good job. It was a small sentence, but it touched my heart, because I was not used to hearing that. That day, I went back to my desk, but I could not focus on work. My mind kept replaying the meeting. Not the fear part, the speaking part, the part where I answered. That night at home, I opened my notebook again. I wrote, "Today I spoke in a real meeting. Today I answered a question." Then I sat quietly, and I thought about something important. I always believed I needed confidence to speak, but I spoke without confidence. I was afraid, and I still spoke. So maybe confidence is not the first step. Maybe the first step is courage. Courage is not loud. Courage is not perfect. Courage is simply doing it even when you feel fear. That thought stayed with me. But the next challenge was still waiting. Because after that meeting, people started seeing me differently. A colleague said, "Daniel, your English is improving." Another colleague said, "You were brave. I would be scared." Arif looked proud. He said, "See, I told you." But deep inside, I knew something. I was still not free. Because I was speaking only in prepared moments, only in safe moments. Slides, practice, short answers. The real fear was still there. The fear of speaking naturally. The fear of speaking without preparation. And that fear came back 1 week later. A new client visited our office in person. They were from another country. My manager called a few of us. He said, "Come to the welcome meeting. Everyone will introduce themselves. Just your name and what you do. Just one sentence." But when it was my turn, I looked at the client. I saw their eyes waiting. And suddenly, my mind went empty again. There were no slides, no script, no paper. Only me. I opened my mouth and nothing came out. I smiled awkwardly. My face became hot. My manager quickly helped. He said, "This is Daniel. He works with our reporting team." The client smiled politely, but I felt pain inside me. Not shame like before. Something deeper. Disappointment. That night, I walked home slowly. The street lights were calm and yellow. People walked around me, but I felt alone. I kept thinking. I spoke in the meeting, but I failed again in a simple introduction. Why? Why does this keep happening? Then I understood the reason. I was still practicing only when I felt safe. So that night, I made a second promise, a stronger promise, a promise that would push me into real life speaking. Teaching moment. Explain means to make something clear. Pause means a short stop. Courage means strength when you feel fear. Introduce means to tell your name and who you are. Disappointment means feeling sad because you expected better. Segment 5. That night, I did not open my notebook right away. I sat on my bed. I looked at the wall, and I stayed quiet. But inside me, my thoughts were loud. I kept seeing that moment again. The client sitting across from me, everyone watching, my mouth opening, no words coming out. I felt disappointed in myself because I had improved. I had practiced. I had spoken in a meeting. So why did I still freeze? Then I understood something. I was practicing English, but I was still hiding. I was speaking only when I had time to prepare, only when I had control, only when I felt safe. But real speaking does not happen in safe moments. Real speaking happens in fast moments, in unexpected moments, in real-life moments. And if I wanted to change, I needed to practice in that real-life space. So, I opened my notebook. On the first page, my first promise was still there. I will speak one English sentence every day, only one. That promise helped me start. It helped me build courage. But now I needed something stronger. So I turned to a new page and I wrote, I will speak one English sentence to a real person every day. Then I stopped and I read it again. To a real person every day. That sounded scary, but it also sounded right. So I wrote a simple rule under it. It can be a short sentence. It can be broken English, but it must be spoken. When I finished, I felt a calm clarity. Now I knew what to do. The next morning, I started immediately. When I entered the office, the security guard greeted me. Usually, I would answer in my own language. But this time, I smiled and said, Good morning. Have a nice day. The guard looked surprised. Then he smiled, and he said, Thank you, sir. It was simple, but it was real. Later, at the coffee corner, a colleague offered me tea. I said, Yes, please. Thank you. Again, a small moment, but real. Then I started finding chances everywhere. When someone held the elevator door for me, I said, Thank you. When someone asked if I finished a task, I said, Yes, I completed it. When someone asked how my day was, I said, It is going well. These sentences were not fancy, but they were alive. They were part of my day. In the beginning, it felt awkward. Some people looked at me strangely. Some people smiled. A few people joked, but no one was cruel. And slowly, the awkward feeling started to fade. Because I was training my brain. Before, my brain had one habit. When English comes, freeze. Now, my brain was learning a new habit. When English comes, speak something. Even if it is simple. Even if it is not perfect. 1 week passed, then 2 weeks, and I noticed a change. When someone spoke English near me, I did not panic immediately. I still felt nervous sometimes, but my mind did not go blank. It was like my brain was finally understanding. English is not danger. English is communication. Then, one afternoon, my manager called me into his room. He closed the door. He looked serious. My heart started beating fast. He said, Daniel, next month we will have a training session with the client team. It will be online. You will need to speak more. You will need to explain your work. You will need to answer questions. I swallowed. Then he said, I want you to lead one section around 10 minutes. 10 minutes. When I heard that, my stomach dropped. My old fear appeared again. I cannot do that. I will fail. My English is not enough. But I did not say those words. Instead, I said, Okay, sir, I will try. My manager looked at me. Then he nodded. He said, Good, I believe you can. I left his room and my legs felt weak. 10 minutes in English. That sounded impossible. That night, I wanted to escape. I wanted to tell myself, maybe later, maybe next week. But my promises did not allow that. So I made a simple plan. Every day, I will practice 1 minute of speaking about my work. Only 1 minute. Not 10 minutes. Not 30 minutes. Just 1 minute. I set a timer on my phone. 1 minute. The first day, I spoke out loud in my room. Today, I worked on the report. I updated the numbers. I checked the data. It was slow. It was broken, but I spoke for a full minute. The next day, I did it again. The next day, again. After 1 week, 1 minute became 2 minutes. After another week, 2 minutes became 3. And slowly, without noticing, I was preparing for the 10 minutes. Then, one evening, I realized something. The promise was not the magic. The daily action was the magic. Small action every day. That's how fear becomes smaller. That's how confidence grows. Segment 6. The weeks before the training session felt like a long road. Not a road with excitement, a road with quiet pressure. Every day, I practiced 1 minute. Every day, I spoke one English sentence to a real person. Every day, I wrote one new word in my notebook. Some days, I felt strong. Some days, I felt tired. Some days, I felt like nothing was improving. But I kept going, because my promises were not based on feelings, they were based on discipline. One evening, Arif saw me staying late. He came to my desk and said, Daniel, why are you still here? I looked up and said, I am preparing for the client training session. I need to speak for 10 minutes. Arif's eyes became wide. 10 minutes in English? That is big. I nodded. My fear was visible. Arif pulled a chair and sat beside me. He said, Okay, let us practice. I felt surprised. He said, I will listen. You speak, then I will ask you questions like a client. My heart beat faster. But this time, it was not only fear, it was also gratitude. We started. I opened my notes, I took a breath, and I began. Good morning, everyone. Today, I will explain our reporting process. My voice was shaking in the first 30 seconds. But Arif nodded. He kept his eyes on me. He did not judge. I continued. First, we collect the data from different sources. Then we clean the data. After that, we check for errors. Finally, we prepare the report. Then Arif raised his hand like a client. He said, Daniel, what do you do if you find missing data? For a moment, I froze. Then I remembered my rule. Do not stay silent. Speak something. So I answered slowly. If we find missing data, we contact the team. We confirm the correct information, then we update the report. Arif nodded. He asked another question. What is the biggest challenge in this process? This question was harder. I did not have a perfect answer, but I still spoke. The biggest challenge is time. Sometimes we have short deadlines. Also, sometimes data comes late. Arif smiled. He said, "Perfect. That is real. That is how you answer." We practiced for almost 1 hour. My throat became dry. My brain became tired. But when we finished, I felt something I had not felt before. I felt ready. Not perfect, not fluent, but ready enough. The next day, we practiced again. This time, my voice was stronger. My sentences came faster. My pauses became shorter. And something important happened. I started speaking without reading. I looked at the screen and spoke from memory. I was not just repeating words, I was communicating. That was the moment I understood a deep truth. English is not a subject. English is a tool. You do not learn a tool by reading about it. You learn it by using it. Then the training session day arrived. I woke up early. I did not eat much. My stomach was nervous. I wore a simple, clean shirt. I checked my internet. I checked my laptop. I checked my notes. My manager messaged me. "Be ready. You will speak in the second part." My heart started pounding again. I joined the meeting. I listened quietly. The client team spoke. My manager introduced the topics. Then my manager said, "Now Daniel will explain the reporting process and answer your questions." I swallowed. Then I turned on my microphone. "Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining." My voice sounded calm. I was shocked. I continued. "Today, I will explain our reporting process. I will also answer any questions you have." I moved through my points slowly, just like I practiced. My voice did not shake much. My hands did not shake much. Then the questions started. One person asked, "How long does the process take?" I answered, "Usually it takes 2 days, but it depends on data availability." Another person asked, "What do you do if you find mistakes after sending the report?" I answered, "If we find mistakes, we correct them immediately. We send an updated version, and we explain the change." Then someone asked a question I did not expect. "Why do you think your reporting system is reliable?" The word reliable felt strong. My mind paused, but it did not go blank. I remembered my daily practice, my daily speaking, my daily courage. So I said, "Our system is reliable because we check the data in multiple steps. We also review the report before delivery. We follow a fixed process." The client team nodded. One person said, "Thank you, Daniel. Your explanation is very clear." Clear. That word entered my heart deeply. I finished my section. My manager moved to the next part. I muted my microphone and I leaned back in my chair. My chest was rising and falling, but I was not panicking. I was feeling pride. After the session ended, my manager messaged me. "Great work. You handled questions well." Arif messaged me too. "I told you, you can do it." That evening, I went home. I sat on my bed. I opened my notebook. I wrote, "Today I spoke for 10 minutes. Today I answered questions. Today I was clear." Then I put my pen down and I stayed quiet. I realized something. For many years, my voice was trapped inside me. Not because I had no ideas, not because I was not smart, but because fear was holding my voice. And that day, my voice became mine. Not perfect, not native, not fast, but real. And when your voice becomes real, everything starts to change. Teaching moment. Discipline means doing something regularly even when you don't feel like it. Deadline means the last time to finish something. Reliable means something you can trust. Availability means when something is ready. Pride means a good feeling because you achieved something. After that training session, I thought my fear would disappear. I thought I would wake up the next day and feel completely confident, but that did not happen. Fear does not leave in one day. Fear leaves slowly. But something did change. Before that day, English felt like a wall in front of me. After that day, English became a door. Not a wide open door, but a door I could push. The next week at the office, my manager forwarded an email to me. It was from the foreign client. They had a question. My manager wrote, "Daniel, can you reply?" In the past, that would have scared me. I would have written a draft, deleted it, written again, and waited too long. I would have overthought every word. But this time, I opened the reply and started typing. "Hello, thank you for your email. Yes, the report will be ready by Thursday. If you have any other questions, please let me know." I read it once, I checked the spelling, and I sent it. That was it. No panic, no delay. I sat back and thought, is this really me? Then I understood something important. When you practice small actions daily, big actions start to feel normal. My English was not perfect, but my mind was calmer. And calm is power. Another change happened too. People started including me more. In meetings, my manager sometimes asked me, "Daniel, what do you think?" Before, that question would make my heart stop. Now, I could answer. Not with long sentences, but with clear, simple sentences. I said things like, "I think this is a good idea. I suggest we check the data first. Maybe we can deliver it on Friday." My grammar was not perfect, but people understood me. And they respected me. That taught me another lesson. People do not need perfect English. People need clear English. Then something happened outside the office. Something small, but very meaningful. One evening, I was in a small shop. A foreign tourist walked in. He looked confused. He asked the shopkeeper in English, "Where can I find a pharmacy?" The shopkeeper looked nervous. He stayed silent. I was standing nearby, and for 1 second, my old fear appeared again. But then my new habit took control. Speak something. So I stepped forward and said, "Pharmacy is near here. You go straight, then you turn left. It is beside the bank." The tourist smiled widely. He said, "Thank you so much." I nodded and I smiled. As he walked away, my heart felt warm. Not because my English was amazing, but because I helped someone. And I realized something. English is not only for jobs. English is for life. That night, I thought about my old self, the version of me who stayed silent, the version of me who avoided eye contact, the version of me who believed he was not capable. I wanted to go back and tell him, "You are not weak, you are only untrained." Because that is the truth. Speaking English is not about talent, it is about training. Then I made a decision. I wanted to protect my progress. I wanted to keep growing. So I created a calm routine. Every day, one sentence to a real person. Every day, 1 minute speaking practice alone. Every day, one new word in my notebook. Every week, one longer practice session with Arif. This routine became part of my life, not like a punishment, like a peaceful habit. Slowly, English became normal. Then, after 2 months, my manager called me again. He said, "Daniel, we have a new project. I want you to communicate with the client directly. You will join the calls, you will send updates, you will be responsible for one part of the project." I listened quietly. This was not a test, this was trust. My manager trusted me because he saw something. He saw I was trying. He saw I was improving. He saw I was speaking. And that trust changed how I saw myself. I said, "Thank you, sir. I will do my best." When I walked out of his room, I felt taller inside. Not arrogant, just stronger. Then I remembered the first night, the night I wrote my first promise. One sentence every day. That small promise was not only about English, it was about choosing a new life. A life where I do not hide. A life where I do not stay silent. A life where I try even when I feel fear. And now I believe something deeply. If you are listening to this story and you feel the same fear I felt, remember this. You do not need a big plan to change. You need a small promise. And you need to keep it. Teaching moment. Forward means to send something to someone else. Draft means a first version, not final. Overthink means to think too much and become nervous. Routine means a regular daily plan. Trust means believing someone will do something well. Segment 8. Narrator, Daniel. Now I want to tell you what I wish someone told me earlier. You do not need to become fluent first. You do not need to become fearless first. You do not need perfect grammar first. You only need to start. Because fluency comes after you speak. Confidence comes after you try. And courage comes after you act. When I was silent, English felt like a mountain. Too high, too hard, too far. I thought only special people could do it. But now I know the truth. English is not one big mountain. English is many small steps. And every small step matters. That first night, when I made my first promise, I was not brave. I was tired. I was tired of hiding, tired of staying silent, tired of feeling small. And that tired feeling became my turning point. I did not change my life in one day. I changed it in one small sentence every day. That is how I started speaking English. So now I want to give you something. Not a big challenge, not a heavy pressure. A small promise you can keep. Here is the promise. I will speak one English sentence every day. That's it. One sentence. If you are shy, speak it to your mirror. If you are nervous, speak it softly. If you are busy, speak it while walking. If you have no confidence, speak it anyway. Because when you speak one sentence today, you will speak two sentences tomorrow. And after some weeks, you will notice something powerful. Your fear will become quieter. Your mind will become faster. Your voice will feel more natural. And one day, you will speak in real situations. In the office, in an interview, in a meeting, in life. It will not happen because you are special. It will happen because you trained. That's the difference. Now let me recap the key lessons from this story. Lesson 1. A small promise is stronger than a big dream because a small promise is something you can do today. Lesson 2. You do not need confidence to start. You need courage to try. Confidence comes later. Lesson 3. Speak in real-life situations. Even one sentence to a real person can change your brain. Lesson 4. Practice daily, not perfectly, daily. Lesson 5. Your English does not need to be perfect. It needs to be clear. Now, before we end, I want to give you a few simple English sentences you can use today. You can choose one, and you can say it right now. Today, I will do my best. I am improving every day. I feel nervous, but I will try. Can you repeat that slowly, please? Thank you for your help. I am learning English step by step. I am not perfect, but I am trying. I will not give up. Say one of these sentences today, out loud, even if you whisper. Then write it somewhere, in a notebook, on your phone, on a paper. Because every time you see it, you will remember. You are not stuck. You are starting. And maybe, just like me, one day you will look back and smile. You will realize that everything changed because of one small promise. If you enjoyed this peaceful story, please like this video and subscribe to Peaceful English Stories. And write your promise in the comments. I will speak one English sentence every day. because when you write it, it becomes your promise too. Thank you for listening. I am Daniel, and I believe in your voice. Teaching moment. Fluency means speaking smoothly and naturally. Whisper means speaking very softly. Recap means a short summary of what we learned. Step by step means slowly, one small part at a time. Subscribe means to follow this channel for more videos.